weekend is one of the biggest esports prizes of the year. More than $25 million is up for grabs at the International, a professional video gaming tournament in Vancouver. Matthew Black is a reporter for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, joining me from Vancouver via Skype. Matt, I know you've been covering this industry for a while, but what's the atmosphere been like at the International? And how does it compare to what you might feel at a major sporting event?
Well, people are very excited. It's a real big event. It's the biggest in the esports calendar, the biggest money tournament. And the last big money tournament was the one before this. So the last four TIs, the last four of the internationals are the biggest. As far as the atmosphere here, it's not all that different from a normal sporting event. What the setup is like is you walk into the arena, the lights are turned down a bit, so it's a little different than your normal basketball, hockey game. And then you go down into the seating area. It's all dark, and you see two teams enter these glass booths that are soundproof. They come out to entrance music. They come out to smoke and pyrotechnics. They begin playing, and fans watch on the big screen. That's normally where the Jumbotron would be, where you'd watch the highlights and the play unfold. There's a lot of fans, a lot of flags, rather, in the crowd, a lot of fans who come from different parts of the world. A lot of these teams come from one particular country or one particular part of the world. So it has a bit of a World Cup feel about it. But in terms of the actual atmosphere, you have cheering, you have booing, you have oohing and awing. It's not all that different than your usual basketball or hockey game, which we normally see at Rogers Arena this time of year.
So you've been covering esports for a few years, Matt, and there are certainly some big media deals and sponsorships in the sector we've seen recently. But do you see esports really going mainstream, maybe even being at the Olympics one day?
Yeah, it has a way to go before that. There's certainly more and more support building for that. They have a few obstacles to get through. One of the realities is that video games just change so fast. The most popular game on the planet right now is called Fortnite. It's the most streamed one. 5 years ago, no one had ever heard of it. So you contrast that with a lot of Olympic sports that have been around for generations and that don't look all that different than they did a few decades ago. That will be one obstacle that they have to overcome. But on the other hand, it's very hard to sell out a hockey-sized arena for one night, let alone six. And it's not only that they're doing that, it's who's going to these events. It's really young people, that young audience that so many industries crave, and esports seems to be able to deliver that better than anyone right now. And so that's what's got organizations like the Olympics and many pro sports teams interested in this as well.
Indeed. Matthew Black, a reporter for the CBC. Thank you, Matt. Have fun. Now, the International isn't the only big esports event this weekend. The Overwatch Esports League is holding its first ever All-Star game. The event is being held in the sold-out Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles, a purpose-built venue for professional video gamers. It's also being broadcast on Twitter. Brandon Snow is Chief Revenue Officer of Activision Blizzard, which operates this esports league. Brandon, nice to meet you. Thanks for your time. The Overwatch League has struck this deal with Twitter. Can you give us some more details? What does it mean for you guys, for Twitter, and for the burgeoning base of esports fans?
Sure, of course. It's a wonderful partnership that we're going to enter in with Twitter. We're starting it off this weekend with our All-Star game, as you mentioned. They will be showing near live highlights on Twitter of those matches, of the gameplay, and that will continue on as a multi-year arrangement into next season, where they'll continue to show highlights of our games, our regular season games, and we will have a weekly 30-minute live-streamed pregame show called Watchpoint, also airing live on their platform into the next season.
Now, I know that last month, ESPN signed a deal with you guys for TV rights in the Overwatch League as well. How much importance do you place in the traditional media outlets versus, say, the Twitters of the world, or even comparing it to, like, the Amazon streaming, Twitch, right, as far as revenue?
Sure. Well, we want to make sure we have our content in every place where our fans are engaging with us, and Twitter is one part of that. We have a very important relationship with Twitch, who, as you mentioned, streams all of our games live on their platform. And then into this playoffs and finals of this year, we entered into a relationship with Disney to show on linear our product. And it was the first time to ever have live esports event on the flagship product of ESPN. We had that on Friday night, and then a re-air of the entire finals on ABC the following Sunday. So for us, it's about continuing to grow and expand the audience. There's 40 million people playing Overwatch around the world, and we want to make sure that we can engage them with the sport and in any way that they want to do that. And that's whether it be digitally streamed, linearly on television or through short-form content on Twitter.
All right, I want to ask you the big sort of mountaintop question, which is where is the landscape for esports right now? And how do you see that changing, that landscape, in the future?
Sure, we are on the cusp of mainstream. If you think about the 2.2 million gamers that are out there, there is already 380 million people watching esports. 80% of those people are under the age of 35. And so we are in a situation of growth that is going to be unprecedented, I think, as it relates to potentially existing stick and ball sports that you're aware of. And at the Overwatch League, we've taken that model, but yet I think we're moving it beyond to where it has been and improving it. So what I can mention is we have a 12-team league, city-based franchise league, no different than you'd have with any traditional sport.
Yeah.
We have a vision of playing home and away games, no different than what you'd have in traditional sports. It's just that you engage and you view that in a digital space.
Everyone wants a piece of that esports audience. I know that. Brandon Snow, Chief Revenue Officer of Activision Blizzard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.